Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast, Everything Dogs. I'm Daniel Stucker, and I'm here with my compadre, Miss Brett Bauer. And little you does she know, but this week she's a crane operator.
Ooh, I always wanted to learn how to do that. Actually, no, I'm afraid of heights and being on those machines, but they look fun.
All right, okay, no, but how have you been? Seriously,
I'm good. Just been playing catch up since I was traveling last week for work, so just doing the fun adulting stuff, laundry.
well, I know traveling with crane work can get tedious. Driving that big thing down the road. Cackle, cackle, cackle. Okay, sorry guys, it's been a week, so we like to catch up and have a good time. So we decided today that we were going to talk about picking the right dog for you. Now, if you're already watching this and have picked the wrong dog, that's okay too. Maybe we can give you some tips on how to have a little better control, because this show is all about control.
He's such a control freak.
Well, sometimes when it comes to dogs, yeah, for sure. So,
yes.
But any good stories? Did anything happen this week?
Oh my gosh. I always have stories. Did I tell you this? Well.
All right, on to the next thing. So I give her 10 to 12 seconds, and if it doesn't happen, we move the hell on.
All right. I got tons of stories, but I really am excited about this topic because it's really close to my heart, because there's a lot of stereotypical thoughts on ways you can go about bringing a dog into your family.
Sure.
And so
well, I think we'll cover that too.
Yeah.
So basically what we're going to try to cover with this, not only picking the right dog for you, but sourcing the right dog for you, depending on, your beliefs, your thoughts, what have you. There's no wrong answer to this. Some people have bred dogs. Bred dogs need homes too. Some people rescue dogs. I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to do a rescue dog too. So there's no judgment on any type of dog you want to, because all dogs need home.
Yeah, no judgment here. Just call us Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
So, but yes, whether you are adopting a dog or say somebody can't keep their dog anymore and you bring it in, there's all different ways you can bring a new baby into your home. But, you need to find what works for you. I mean, what's your lifestyle like? Do you work in an office from 9 to 5? Are you an active person? Do you live in a high-rise apartment, or do you have a yard, or do you have other animals? Do you have children? So it's really important, especially coming from a background when we were trying to place dogs into new homes, is to know all that information, because you don't want to be stuck in a situation where the type of dog that you're bringing in might not fit your lifestyle or your family's needs. So,
well, I'm going to add to that.
Yeah.
For Brett's background, she's not only a dog advocate, but she's been in the rescue scene for many years, from LA to Atlanta. Of course, we're in Atlanta, Georgia. And she has worked with thousands of rescues and people involved in the rescues. And I'm going to give her a golf clap for that, because that takes a special person to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Special.
Yeah.
You got the right person.
I got special right, at least. And we'll talk about the short bus story later.
Okay.
But anyway, working with rescues can be very rewarding, but it also can be really heart-wrenching and heart-tugging, and so it does take special people. And so, I give kudos to anybody who's involved with rescues and rescuing dogs and the shelters, and most of those people are really special people. And then you do get some people who aren't the best people doing it, but
right. And as you know, and you guys don't know, because obviously you haven't heard my story, but I wasn't raised with animals, with dogs. I had a hermit crab and a hamster and some fish, but my sister had really bad allergies, so I was never really raised. We never had a house dog. My best friend had a dog, and I always loved her and played on her, but I never understood the true connection that you can actually have with the dog until one kind of fell in my lap, and I never would have thought.
And it bit you.
Well, yeah.
No, the dog bug. I meant the dog.
Oh, yeah, the dog bug. But I did get bit by a dog when I was younger. But so yeah, I just never understood. I always loved animals, but I didn't understand that true connection, how amazing it can be. And then here I am, like, what, 25 years later, and
25 is being very generous.
We're gonna go with 25 and a half. That I've had multiple dogs, and they've all been rescues. But my one, if I tell you the story how I found my first dog, she found me and rescued me. during the recession.
Yeah, I heard that story. Thanks. So okay, go on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Cricket.
Just wait.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I tend to
Oh.
divert shit off. I'm not that fucking boring, but no, but to make this the story short, just kind of give you guys maybe this might open your eyes to, since it changed my life, might help you. So I was living in Los Angeles. It was 2009, and I had to do an errand. I was with my ex at the time, and we were going up the 5 freeway. And when the 5 and the 405 meet, it's kind of going into more like desert type of area, not the best part of town, honestly. And during the recession, people were struggling, and there were tons of dogs just
Kinda like
living
now?
on the streets, kind of like now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times dogs would just cross my path. And so, anyways, we got off this exit to get gas, and we just hear all these cars honking, and we thought there was an accident, and it was a major intersection. And he's like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "I think it was a dog that's running through the intersection." I was like, "It's a
When you said
possum."
he, you really meant she. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, but so he, yeah, it wasn't he.
Threw you all off, didn't I?
Yeah, I did. So, he's like, "Let's go follow it," and I was like, "That is a possum." It was black. It looked like a rodent.
Yeah.
So we drive down the street and we see this thing running down the road, and he
The
pulls
black possum.
over. Yeah, the black
'Cause I've
possum.
never seen a black possum. Just go on.
Yeah, he's full of it today. Okay, you're cut off from this fucking caffeine energy bullshit. He's done. Go sit in the corner and turn around and face. He's in timeout. So we pull over. The dog runs into, well, we know it's a dog now, runs in this empty parking lot. And then these neighborhood kids are around. We're like, "Hey, have you seen this dog before?" Like, "Yeah, this been running around for like over a month or so. Like, no one's brought the dog in." And so finally, she was under a car and scared, terrified. And so my ex gets down low and somehow scoops her up and brings her over to the main car. And I'm like I don't know what to do, because I'm
Sure.
like, am I gonna catch something? Like, I didn't know. Like, and
Yeah.
she was a dog, obviously. She was a Jack Russell, and she had a huge hematoma. Her whole belly was just black and blue, gashes, marks, and obviously she had been malnourished. But like, he put her in my arms, and I was like, I started itching because I'm like, "Oh, am I gonna like have a reaction or something?" And she just kind of fell asleep in my arms, and we drove home. And that night, we bathed her. We didn't know what we were to do with her. We're gonna bring her to a rescue group or
Right.
whatever. So we bathed her that night, and I made her like a little bed in the bathroom because we wanted to get her checked out. And like I said, I'm very ignorant to dogs. Like, I don't know anything about dogs at this point.
Yeah. Come on.
So I'm from New York. I don't get talk.
Jesus. Get to
So
the
the
point.
point is,
move on.
we were she was crying in the bathroom, and so in the middle of the night we opened up the door, and she jumped up in bed and sat in between us, and she's been by my side for 16 years now. And she changed my life. So I didn't actively go out looking for a dog. Like, I needed a dog. She came to me, and literally my life changed 180 for the better. And that's why, like, if anybody is questioning, should I get a dog, whatever, one, make sure that you're in a place in your life where you can, because it is like a child, you can give the time, and you have the money, and want to give them the proper home. It's awesome. Like, it's life changing. Just the connection and the relationship that you can have. So whether you're going to somebody who had dogs bred, or you're going to a rescue group, it is just an amazing, life changing situation.
And it's amazing she came into your life like that, because I know how important she is to you. And the beauty of that is that just pulls on your heartstrings when you see the relationship too, and it's a very sweet puppy. And to think for 16 years, the love and all that, and it could have been just another statistic.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You know?
And like, I just can't even fathom my life without her, and how much she's taught me, and being present and just enjoying every moment, because I was always so go, 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 like focusing on the future, but they really teach you a lot of life lessons.
Dog made her lazy as hell.
Yes.
No, but it is a beautiful story. And that gets to the point where we're going to make the point then this rescue came into her life, and they were a great match. And one of the reasons why it was a great match is because it was a smaller dog too.
Exactly. Yeah. Eventually we did get larger dogs and adopt larger dogs down the road, but that's when we lived in a house and we had a yard. But at this time I was in an apartment, so it worked out for our situation. I did have a spouse, so when I was at work or he's at work, we had a dog walker come, or vice versa. So it worked out well for that
Sure.
situation. Yeah.
And that's when we get into talking about what's the right dog for you. I mean, see, the rescues, again, that's a whole, if a dog comes to you, a dog comes to you, and if it touches your heartstrings, it touches your heartstrings. But if you're actually planning it, not having a spontaneous, beautiful experience, which I call those, like, that's a love story. You know what I mean? That's just, it's beautiful to me. This kind of stuff tugs at my heart. Um, you have to take in some considerations. First of all, have you ever owned a dog before? If you've never owned a dog before, it might be smarter to get a little older dog, not a puppy, just for the fact that puppies are an enormous amount of work, from potty training to commands to going through, teething. And if you've never had a dog, puppies are a lot of work. They can be a kind of a full-time job.
Oh yeah, and when they're teething, you come home and you better have your shoes picked up. You better have everything because they'll go through everything.
Yeah.
I've lost so much remote controls, headphones, you name it.
Yeah, puppies, again, because they're new to life in general, they experience everything through their mouth, and their little mouths likes to do everything, especially because, they're growing, they're learning, everything's new, everything's exciting. I can't say enough. Puppies, they're very frustrating, but man, they just make you smile.
Totally.
They
And the
bring they
puppy
bring me
breath.
great joy. I've had everything from puppies, to dogs that I've gotten older from various reasons, from rehoming to adopting them from people because of whatever type of reasons. But puppies are always special. But make sure that you'd have the time, energy, money, and a type of job where you're not going to be gone 12 hours a day on a young dog. Because if that's the case, it's really hard to crate train them, potty train them if they're going to have a lot of time in a crate, because when they're younger, they need to use the bathroom very frequently.
Right. And to kind of extend on that is also, there were a lot of dogs during COVID that got adopted. And then once people started going back to work, there was this whole plethora of
Returns,
returns and
like their
dogs staying
their
at homes.
shoes.
Yeah. So it's like, just make sure that, just know that it's a responsibility and it's a lifelong commitment for their lifespan.
That's the way we look at it. And that, just recently, um, there was a person I know who, their dog is 16 years old, and they were trying to rehome it because they were too busy.
Don't tell me that.
And to me, that that's really tough for me to hear something like that. I mean,
Can you imagine being that dog and you're with your family and then all of a sudden they're just gonna
yeah. And again, I always try to, you try not to judge people, obviously. But sometimes
try?
sometimes it's more difficult than others. And so when a situation like that arises, I'm like, I always try to put myself in that place. I'm like, what? Again, if you're terminally ill or something, you're looking for a dog for the home, that's different.
Right.
Again, every situation is a little different, but the way you and I look at it is, we look at it as a dog as a lifelong commitment. And again, I do know things come up sometimes, and I get it. There's always extenuating circumstances. So we're not saying you're a bad person if you give up a dog, because it happens. And sometimes it's needed. Maybe you get a dog and it doesn't get along with your other dog, and it just makes your life miserable. And the dog will have a better life if you rehome it, things of that
Yeah.
nature.
I mean, my close girlfriend did the same thing. She had a black lab and she had a rehome it. And at first I was like, starting to kind of get judgy on her, but it's because she was a single mom and she couldn't afford it. And she lived in an apartment.
Yeah.
So she couldn't afford everything. And so she ended up, her friends had brought the dog in because they had a huge yard, their dog. So she did what was, you have to look what is best for the dog.
Right.
You want to give them the best life possible and put them in a great situation. And so she had to rehome him for that and put him in a great home, loving home. He had brothers and sisters and kids to play with. So it worked out.
Yeah. And that makes a big difference. Again, so if you can improve a dog situation because of your situation's not in the best place, obviously, do what's best for the dog. And I can appreciate that. It's the people who use the dog as, like a used t-shirt. Oh, I don't want the dog.
He was a material object.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's very disheartening. And because again, they are living beings, and they love us unconditionally, and they give us all this love, and to discard them. This is a little off topic, I guess. I was at the vet recently, this is less than a year ago, where somebody brought in their 16-year-old dog to be euthanized, and they just left it to, okay, take care of it, thanks. That's dogs last minutes on this earth, who does it want to be with? The owner, to help transition through. And they just left. So people do that. Ugh, I don't understand, and it bothers me. It still bothers me to even think about it.
Well, now I'm bothered.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And I'm upset.
So you're going to hear the passion with us because we do love dogs first and foremost, and so they are important to us. So when people do these things to me that are maybe not morally in my morals. Now again, I'm not. Everybody's got different morals and values, and so, but to me, my morals and my values, you don't do that type of thing.
No, I don't view dogs. I don't view animals. Everyone is equal. I don't view them any less valuable or below humans. I
Right.
feel we all have our purpose on this earth. Whether you're a squirrel or whatever. I just their health is just as important. Their value of life is just important.
And that's the key, and this again, we're talking about things maybe that aren't, they're a little maybe dark, but it's just to give you a view of why it's so important when you make a decision that you're going to take this dog forever. Like I've had people like their dog, they've like torn their PCL, which is basically the knee for a dog and stuff. And yeah, it's an expensive surgery, but they'd rather let their dog become gimp or euthanize it or, whatever, instead of fixing them. Like if you can't afford a dog, you shouldn't get a dog.
Yeah.
And it's just because, and that's no judgment on income or anything like that. But again, it's like, to me, they're children. They're like my children. I currently have, my wife and I currently have 5 dogs. You have 2 dogs. We're always a multi-dog family, and that's what they are. They're family. I mean, I brought in fosters and brought them into my family before I've rehomed them and stuff like that. And I treated them just like they were my family. And it broke my heart to get rid of them, but it was for in their best interest long term.
Yeah, because otherwise we'd have 100 dogs each.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
No, I get that. And at the end of the day, just do the right thing. As a human, just do the right thing. Be respectful, and yeah.
Okay. So enough of this dark stuff. We're gonna turn this puppy back up to a happy spot.
Yeah.
So again, so if you're looking for a dog, don't go with a dog that's just attractive and looks to you. Back when the John Wick movies came out, the Malinois, they showed all these highly trained Malinois, and people got a rush of Malinois. Well, if you don't do a research on the type of dog you want, you could be in trouble, because a Malinois, there's a reason why they use them as military and police dogs, because they're very high drive dogs. They need a ton of mental stimulation. They need a ton of exercise. And if they don't get it, they're very destructive. And again, and if you don't socialize them, they can become aggressive. Any dog can be. So I'm not just saying Malinois, but a Malinois is much more hard to handle than, say, your average, Basset Hound.
Right.
Okay. So you really have to look at those type of things. So you don't buy a dog by its looks. Don't buy a dog by its size. Like some people just want a really big dog because they want to be intimidating, especially down here. It's hilarious. And then they don't get the dog trained and they're getting dragged down the road. That's a whole nother story. Mm-hmm. But you have to buy a dog or rescue a dog that is going to complement your lifestyle.
Exactly.
So if you travel a lot and you always want a companion, a smaller dog is probably going to be a better fit for you. That way you can take them, you can pay for flights easier, you can put them under your seat. It just really depends on your lifestyle. If you live in a big open area, you could get a high energy dog, that can run. That's, whatever, a Malinois, any type of that big dog, Mastiff, whatever. You want to have the proper amount of space for the type of dog you get, and you want to be able to give it the proper amount of exercise. So if you're a couch potato, you're not going to want to get a dog that is a high energy dog, because that dog is going to be very destructive because it's going to be bored.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They got to exert themselves because
very
destructive. But yeah, like if you're a couch potato, yeah, Basset Hounds are really kind of more on the chill side.
My first adult dog when I was an adult that I got was a Basset Hound. And that sweet dog lived to be 14 years old. And I could never get another Basset Hound after her because I still think about her at least, once a week.
What was her name?
Babs. Yeah.
That's my baby's name.
Was it really?
Barbara. Babs.
That's not the same. So anyway. And that's a cat, a skinless cat. No, hairless cat.
He has skin.
So, yeah. So, and it was funny because at the time, I was younger and, of course, when I was busy going out and about, she was the great snuggle buddy when I got home because she didn't want to do much. So it was pretty cool. So I always had a buddy for football on Sunday to curl up with me and all that, and just the sweetest personality and those big ears. I will never forget her, and it was beautiful. So yeah, again, dogs are just the best. So, but if you're, again, if you're an active person, say, you like to run trails, you like to go to parks, you like to do those things, you're going to want to get a more active dog than a Bastogne. You might want to get like a golden doodle. You might want to get a lab. You might want to get a retriever, or a mix. And again, I'm just saying name or not name brands, but name brand dogs. Want a name brand dog over here? Okay. Get Monty's Rottweiler. So bred names, AKC bred names and stuff. But again, you can get mixed dogs too, which are great. In fact, a lot of mixed dogs are called designer dogs now. So, go figure. Back in the day, they were called, mutts, and now they're called designer dogs, and you get charged an arm and a leg for them.
Well, also too, like I'm more on the rescue side, but I did have a friend that had to go to a breeder, and she did because she has allergies. So she got it's a new mix of dog. They're German. I don't know if you hear, but it's hair instead of fur.
Sure.
And so
it's got to have a poodle in it somewhere.
Yeah, they're small dogs, so she can bring them around with her, but she had terrible allergies, so she could not, unfortunately.
Understand, again, a unique situation. And again, no judgment on anything. Again, there's a lot of really beautiful mixes and mutts, and there's some really ugly ones that are sweetest dogs on the planet.
Yep.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder for sure.
Oh no, that's why you know what my dream is?
Yeah.
I want to have a senior dog sanctuary, so the dogs that people don't want anymore, I can make the rest of their lives amazing while they live out, because I've seen too many on the rescue side that, like you said, they get dumped and all that kind of stuff.
The beautiful part about you two is you have so much love to give, and you're so, even though when you're in that type of situation where you're on all that, and to keep it where it's still not just like, like a doctor's around people getting, dying, or that they became, immune to it, so to speak, where you're still passionate, even though it breaks your heart every time, you still go back. And I can appreciate that, because that is so heavy on my heart. I just have a really hard time doing that kind of stuff. So
no, thank you. But it is like, I give everyone props to do it, and not that we're going back on the dark side, but I think the one thing that really got me, which I was meditating, and this is what I found that's I truly want to do, is that I think that's where my niche is, because I remember being young and being a Girl Scout, and we had to go do volunteering, and we had to go to the senior home, and my heart would break because I just felt like, their families weren't there, they're alone, and so like I just wanted to make them happy and just bring life into their lives again, and so I want to do that for senior dogs, just because I've seen too many senior dogs get dumped, and they might have a medical condition and stuff like that, and people can afford it, and so that's my end goal.
Well, I think that's a beautiful goal to have, and a beautiful dream to have. Anything to do supporting dogs and the longevity of dogs, and dogs that have had it maybe rougher than the average dog. I'm behind 100%.
So those are the dogs that I want to bring in. But for you, it's all about your lifestyle and activity that we've been talking about. But yeah, what would you think the most calm type of dog would be for someone who is not like super active? And
the big thing is, that's a hard one, because you have breeds, and then you have different drives in breeds.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard to say, because you can have a really low drive Rottweiler, a really high drive Rottweiler, and they could be from the same litter, where the low drive is just going to chill all the time, and a high drive like mine is going to want to work like all the time.
Is there anything to do with him being fixed and calming down their drive?
You know what? That's the thing. No. There's a lot of different people that say a lot of different things, like, oh, if they get fixed, this will stop, and they're going to get lazy, and they're going to get fat. I have not found that to be true. I don't know the science behind it, or if there is science behind it. I think there's a lot of conjecture behind it, but I don't think anybody has a definitive answer on it.
Yeah.
So when we're getting at here is basically, pick a dog that's going to fit your lifestyle. Do your research. If you live in an apartment, get a dog that's going to thrive in an apartment environment. If you're going to get a dog in a house, you have a lot more choices, obviously, especially if you have a backyard. And there's nothing wrong with apartments or townhomes or high rises. There's nothing wrong. It's just different living accommodations. You have to accommodate the dog differently. I've had clients that live on big time high rises. And so, because they don't want to take their dogs out for walks, they had small dogs, thank goodness. They want them to be trained to pee on a piece of astroturf, like it's going outside. So that way they don't have to go down 30 or 40 floors all the time, take them out and this and that. Again, a situation like that, I get it. I don't think it's ideal, but I totally understand that. And if I lived in a high rise, maybe I'd feel that way too,
Right. Yeah.
So, depending on your living situation and your family situation too, you got to have the right dog. If you've got small children and you get a puppy, they're more than likely going to get cut up a little bit from the teeth, not intentionally, so
We do a lot of nipping.
and there's nothing wrong like going to the shelter or someplace and getting a 6 month, a year old, 2 year old dog that maybe is a little calmer, who's, his disposition's already set. So you can pick that out. And if it's going to be a family dog, I always suggest bringing the family and see how the dog gravitates towards everybody in the family, because some dogs are better around kids than others. And, kids are like, this really sounds bad. Kids are like prey because they scream and they run around and stuff like that. And a lot of dogs have, especially hunting dogs or those types of breeds, retriever type breeds. Well, that sounds like prey.
Right.
They're going to run down and chase them unless they're trained not to.
Hey, even my senior dogs, Chihuahua and Jack Russell, if there's a lot of energy that's spastic around them, they'll flip out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's just it's very common. But also too, if you are going to rescue a dog, and then I keep going back to this, you can work with the groups, because a lot of times if they're, a lot of them are not facility based, they're home based, meaning they have fosters. So what happens in that time period is that a dog will be brought in and will go to a foster home. And during that time, that's when they really figure out, okay, the dog is great with children, the dog is not good with cats, the dog's this, the dog's that. So then by the time they're ready to be adoptable, you'll have all that information. And so that's also a good way to kind of help figure out what would be good for your home.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of criteria, and we're naming off a few, and we're kind of jumping around, but you know, when you're thinking about the type of dog, you're gonna have to think about the cost of food, you're gonna cost of equipment, vet care, there's lots of different things,
Dog
toys,
sitters, dog walkers.
dog sitters, dog walkers, if you're that type of person and you got that type of, lifestyle, so there's a lot of costs. And the biggest thing is, don't get a dog because you just want somebody there when you get home, because that's not fair to the dog. So if you've got a really busy schedule and you travel a lot, like constantly, and so your dog's always going to be in daycare, it's probably not the best choice at the current time in your life. So again, I'm being a dog advocate. Who am I to say what you should and shouldn't do, except that I'm telling you shouldn't do it. So, yeah, so picking a dog, you know, look them up, look about some of the habits of them. Like again, Malinois are pretty much high drive. Sure, you can get a low one here and there, but for the most part, are you looking for a really active dog? Are you looking just for a really relaxed dog? Are you looking for a really slow type of dog, like slow pace of life? Then consider size, and then consider what you want to do with the dog. So those are just some of the factors.
And fur too.
Yeah, and again, if you have allergies, obviously you want to go the hyperallergenic route, and they actually do have like rescues just for those. Like they have doodle rescues, and of course they have breeders, and so be aware of all those types of things. And there's no right answer or wrong answer. It's just what's going to fit your lifestyle best, and what you're going to get derived joy either way.
Right.
You know,
But I also say fur too, because if it's short hair, long hair, or if they're a shedder, like my aunt's dog was a husky, and she had to vacuum every single day because that fur just kept falling off. You know what I mean? Especially during season. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind.
yeah, again, it depends if you're a first time dog or not. You kind of get used to the fur thing, unless when you're doing shepherds. I mean, shepherds are, man, every time I got a shepherd, my kennels it's like I could make pillows out of it if I collected all the fur in them. So
Totally. Yeah.
just lots, especially when you're down in a hotter area and they're losing their coat and stuff, and it's molting, and there's a lot of fur. Even if you don't have allergies, you might feel like you have allergies, type of thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
I always bring a lint roller where I go. I'm just used to it.
no, I mean, things that you wouldn't normally do become just part of your life, like breathing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So no, I get all that. So in your choice of dogs, there's no right or wrong answer, but the bottom line is, make sure you're going to be able to afford it. Make sure your lifestyle fits with the right type of dog. Make sure the dog's going to be the right size. Those are just a few of the different things. Some dogs are easier than others to, train for the most part too. Anything with a bull in their name is usually a little more difficult to train because of stubbornness than other dogs. So it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a highly trainable dog that you want to work on yourself, you might want to go with more of a working breed. If you're at that level, you probably know this already though. So those are just some of the tips we would recommend to you for doing something like this.
Yeah.
What else?
They're great tips.
You got anything else?
I got stories.
I'll give you one story.
Well, this is just a story of a rescue. It's not a dark story, but it's just to kind of show that not rescue dogs are all messed up. You know what I mean? There's that stereotypical thought sometimes where like, oh, I don't want to go there. But we had the one rescue was a Cocker Spaniel, and she was 10 years old, and she was a sweetheart. When a Cocker Spaniel, they're very tame. They're more calm dogs.
Well, you've met some Cocker Spaniels. I haven't, because the ones I've always met have been like super hyper.
Well, she was older, so that's why. So she was 10, and she was just very chill and laid back. And I was like, why does this dog? I didn't understand. She's like, oh, it was owner surrender. I'm like, why? How is this dog going to owner surrender? So story was, turns out the owner brought them to the shelter and dropped them off. Mind you, this was a kill shelter, and just said, oh, they're food aggressive. I'm like, you've had this dog. They had the dog for 10 years.
Yeah.
Since it was a puppy. And just dropped her off. And it turns out that the dog had a really bad ear infection. So every time the owner would go by the ear and put down the food, the dog would snip at it, and not knowing that it was just in a lot of pain because it kept going near the ear. So we brought her to the vet, got her antibiotics and all the medications for her ear, and then she's totally fine.
You know what that tells me, though? That tells me that person didn't spend enough time with their dog anyway. Because if my dog even has a nick on it, or I'm always touching my dogs all over, and if they're not feeling good or they've got something that's sensitive, I'll know it before it gets to the point where it's going to bite me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's a dog owner, in my opinion, who, I don't want to say neglectful, but didn't spend enough time with their dog. Mm-hmm. And again, if you've had a dog 10 years and you can just give it up, and food aggression is something that can be controlled. We'll say that. I can't necessarily say fixed, because not everything's fixable to a point, but it can be in a
manageable.
Sure. Manageable, and you can manage it and control the situation. So to me, that's just kind of an excuse someone was using.
Yeah, I agree.
And that kind of pisses me off.
100%. I'm pissed.
Yeah. So, and again, we hear, because we're in this industry, and the crane industry, we hear these things all the time. Like, everybody who knows me, or, comes to I have another business too, that people come in and we talk, and some of the things people say and tell me, I'm just like, because everybody wants to tell me what's going on when it comes to dogs, and
right.
And I'm just like, it blows my mind, and it can be very, very irritating, but it's just like, what the hell is humanity coming to?
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, I know we're in a different day and age, but and that's why I'm so happy they made animal cruelty a felony.
Exactly.
So that was really important, and the advocates for that, man, I applaud them.
Yeah, I used to have a shirt that said "fuck Michael Vick." Remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Michael Vick. He was a local NFL player, for people who don't follow that here, who had a dog fighting ring he actually went to prison for. He actually should have went to prison for much longer. But again, that's how I feel about it. I mean, some people don't view and value dogs like we do.
Right.
So
I didn't know he was here.
Yeah, we played for the Falcons.
Oh, didn't know. I just remember him, and I had the shirt, the dog shirts that said that.
Yeah. No. But well, we hope you guys found some tidbits and some nuggets out of this. Again, feel free to go to our YouTube channel at the Paw Daddy at YouTube, and we also have the Paw Daddy at Instagram. Drop some questions, drop some comments, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We would love to give you a shout out. So if you've got questions, give us your questions. We'll talk about them here on the podcast. If we get some really good ones, we'll have a Zoom call, or we can do a phone call in, and because we want to talk to the people who are watching this. We want to get involved with our audience. This is a community we want to build, and we want you to be part of the community. And again, there's not going to be any questions that we consider dumb that we're going to tell you. I mean, we're going to sit there and laugh behind your back about them, but that's it. No. But seriously, leave them for us. We'll be happy to do it. We look forward to see you each and every week. We're going to try to drop one every week for you guys. And if there's a topic that's really hot on you that you really want to talk about, let us know, because we'll be happy to bring it up and talk about it.
Yep. Just a side note, though, if you are sending in questions, just make sure you give us a lot of information about your dog and the situation, so we can help address the correct solution for that. So the age, type of dog.
Yeah, the more pertinent information, the more it's easier for us to be able to understand the situation. Even if you want to DM that too, that would be fine too, because it's hard to answer such generalized questions. Sometimes we get very general questions. I'm like, well, this could go in 4 to 5 different directions depending on.
Exactly.
So, but we appreciate you tuning in. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And until next week, Paw Daddy out.